Command the first thought. Before the world speaks, you speak. Before the day attacks, you attack. Because the first thought is the first battle, and most men lose the war before they even stand up. You wake, and the mind is empty, fertile, dangerous. What enters first rules the hours that follow. If fear enters first, you will be a coward by noon. If regret enters first, you will be a prisoner by dusk. If someone else's voice enters first, you will be a slave by nightfall. So you command it. You do not request it. You do not wish for it. You command it like a general commands the gate at dawn. Because if you do not give your mind an order, the world will. And the world's orders are simple. React, obey, shrink, scroll, chase, explain, beg. That is how men die without bleeding. That is how men lose without fighting. That is how mournings become funerals. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But before reaction is thought, and before thought is choice. Most of you have no choice in the morning because you gave your mind away in sleep. You let the dreams rot. You let the memories raid you. You let the old stories sit on your throne. Then you wonder why you feel heavy. You are heavy because you are carrying yesterday's corpse into today's battle. Command the first thought, and you bury the corpse. Command the first thought, and you choose the weapon. What weapon? The thought that builds, the thought that hardens, the thought that reminds you who the hell you are. The first thought is not positive thinking. The first thought is violent clarity. It is not "today will be great." It is "today I will not bow." It is not "I am grateful." It is "I am dangerous to weakness." You do not whisper affirmations. You issue commands. Because your mind respects orders, not wishes. Your mind respects the voice that sounds like it owns you. And you own you. So you wake and you sit up and you say it. Into the dark. Into the silence. Into the part of you that wants to stay soft. You say, "I command the first thought. My mind serves me, not my moods. My focus serves me, not my fears. My will serves me, not my wounds." The world will send its messengers early. The memory of her, the debt, the failure, the insult, the temptation. They come before coffee. They come before light. They come because they know if they take the first thought, they take the day. So you beat them to it. You post your guard at the gate of consciousness. You decide what enters. You decide what dies at the wall. You think a man is made in the gym? No, he is made in the first 10 seconds after waking. You think discipline is about nights? No, discipline is about dawns. The man who commands the first thought commands the last action. The man who loses the first thought loses the last piece of himself. This is why you are inconsistent. You do not own your mornings. You rent them to emotions. You rent them to habits. You rent them to ghosts. And a man who rents his mind will never own his life. So you take it back, one morning at a time, one thought at a time, one command at a time. You do not negotiate with the first thought. You do not debate it. You do not analyze it. You kill it or crown it. If it is weak, it dies. If it is strong, it reigns. That is the law. So tomorrow, when your eyes open, do not reach, do not think, do not remember, do not feel. Command. Command the first thought and the day bends. Command the first thought and the enemy starves. Command the first thought and you become the kind of man who does not need motivation, because he has authority. Authority over himself. And a man with authority over himself does not lose. Not to life, not to people, not to time. He masters his morning mindset. He becomes powerful. Command the first thought. Now. Every day. Until death. Own the space between stimulus and response. That space is your life. That space is your freedom. That space is where men are made or broken. You think you are controlled by what happens to you. You are not. You are controlled by what happens in that split second after it happens to you. The insult lands, the text arrives, the memory hits, the loss cuts, and there is a gap, a sliver of silence, a breath of nothing. Most men sprint through it. Most men panic through it. Most men hand their soul to impulse in that gap. And once impulse takes it, you do not get it back for hours, sometimes for years. Viktor Frankl said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." He learned it in a death camp. You forget it in comfort. The world will poke you today. Someone will disrespect you. Something will delay you. Some old craving will whisper your name. That is stimulus. It is guaranteed. You do not control that. But after it comes the space. That is not guaranteed. That is earned. That is trained. That is owned. The untrained man reacts. The trained man responds. Reaction is reflex. Response is royalty. Reaction is animal. Response is stoic. Reaction says, "You hurt me, so I bleed on everyone." Response says, "You hurt me, so I get stronger in silence." See the difference? One is slavery. One is sovereignty. You say you have anger issues. No, you have a space issue. You have no space. You go from trigger to explosion in 0 seconds. You say you have anxiety. No, you have a space issue. You go from thought to terror in 0 seconds. You say you are addicted. No, you have a space issue. You go from urge to action in 0 seconds. The space is the muscle, and you have not trained the muscle. So the world bench presses your emotions, and you call it fate. It is weakness. So you practice. You build the space in the morning before the war starts. You sit and you breathe and you widen it. You put a pause between the world and your will. You rehearse it. Someone insults you. Pause. Breathe. Choose. Someone rejects you. Pause. Breathe. Choose. Someone tempts you. Pause. Breathe. Choose. That pause is your kingdom. That pause is your power. That pause is the only thing standing between you and regret. A man who owns the pause owns the outcome. A man who skips the pause becomes the outcome. Marcus Aurelius said, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." But how? By owning the space. By inserting yourself between the arrow and the wound. The arrow still flies. The wound is optional. You decide in the space. You decide if this becomes fuel or fire. You decide if this becomes a lesson or a life sentence. You decide if you respond as a king or react as a child. The stimulus is the test. The space is the answer. Most of you are living in permanent reaction. You wake up reacting to yesterday. You go to sleep reacting to today. You call it personality. It is bondage. You call it passion. It is prison. You think you are expressive. You are exposed. You think you are honest. You are hijacked. The Stoic is not emotionless. The Stoic is sovereign. He feels everything. He just owns the space before he shows anything. That is discipline. That is power. That is what makes men unreadable, unshakable, unstoppable. So today, you practice. You do not promise to never get angry. You promise to own the space. You do not promise to never feel fear. You promise to own the space. You do not promise to never get triggered. You promise to own the space. Because in that space, you are free. In that space, you are a god among men. In that space, you master your morning mindset. And a man who masters his morning mindset masters his life. Own the space between stimulus and response. Now, every moment, until death. Carry the weight before the world wakes. Rise while it is still dark. Lift while it is still silent. Suffer while they are still dreaming. Because the man who trains in darkness rules in daylight. The man who bleeds before breakfast does not beg by noon. The world will give you weight today. deadlines, disrespect, loss, temptation, chaos. That weight is mandatory. But carrying weight before the world gives it to you, that is voluntary hardship. That is stoic. That is power. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." So you make reality heavier than your imagination early. You train your body before your mind can betray you. You load your back before your excuses can load your mouth. You think discipline is about motivation. It is not. Discipline is about memory, muscle memory, pain memory. You teach your bones what struggle feels like before the day asks you to choose comfort. You carry stone before you carry stress. You walk under load before you walk into chaos. So when the day gets heavy, you do not notice, because you were already under heavier. The world breaks men who are shocked by weight. The world bows to men who are familiar with it. You become familiar at dawn. They sleep, you squat. They scroll, you strain. They warm the bed, you warm the will. They dream of ease, you earn the right to it. This is not punishment. This is preparation. The barbarian trains after the battle starts. The Stoic trains before the battle exists. The fool waits for suffering. The king seeks it, so suffering can never surprise him. You do not carry the weight to look strong. You carry it to be strong when looking strong fails. When your name is in mud, when your plan is in fire, when your heart is in pieces. That is when the weight you carried at dawn pays you back. You say you want peace, then why do you avoid the war that makes it? You say you want confidence, then why do you avoid the resistance that builds it? Then why do you avoid the load that buys it? Every man wants the crown. Few men want the neck strong enough to wear it. So you build the neck. At 5 a.m., alone. No music, no applause, no witness. Just you and the stone. Just you and the cold. Just you and the voice that says quit. You carry the weight anyway. Because the voice is a liar. Because the body is a follower. Because the mind becomes what you do before the sun does. The first weight is not physical. It is the decision. The decision to rise when every cell says stay. The decision to move when every thought says rest. The decision to choose hard when easy is still legal. That decision is the heaviest weight, and you carry it before the world wakes, so the world never sees you struggle. The world sees you steady. The world sees you calm. The world sees you unshakable. They do not know you are shaking at dawn. They do not need to. Your job is not to be seen. Your job is to be ready. So you wake, you stand, you load the back and you walk into the dark with weight on your shoulders and fire in your chest. You carry it, step by step, breath by breath, until the sky cracks, until the birds lie, until the weak wake. And when they wake, you are already done. You are already forged. You are already free. Because you carried the weight before the world woke. The world can add no weight you cannot hold. You mastered your morning mindset. You practiced Stoicism. You became powerful. Carry the weight before the world wakes. Now, every morning, let silence be your armor. Before you speak, before you post, before you explain, before you defend, be silent. Because the world is loud, and loud men are weak. Loud men are easy to read. Loud men are easy to break. Loud men bleed from the mouth and call it honesty. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is weight. Silence is power. Silence is the shield you wear before the first arrow of the day. You think you need to be heard. No, you need to be untouchable. And nothing makes a man untouchable like silence. Marcus Aurelius said, "You always own the option of having no opinion." Most of you have no option. You have compulsion. You must comment. You must reply. You must prove. You must vent. You must win the argument in your head before the day begins. And that is why you lose. Because every word you give away in the morning is a piece of armor you take off before battle. The world will bait you before breakfast. A notification, a memory, a rumor, a disrespect, and your first instinct is to answer it, to fix it, to fight it, to explain yourself to ghosts. Stop. Do not. Let silence be your armor. Let them swing at nothing. Let them shout at stone. Let them fire into fog. A man who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. A man who cannot be read cannot be predicted. A man who cannot be hurried cannot be defeated. That is what silence gives you. It gives you space. It gives you mystery. It gives you command. You say you want respect, then stop explaining. Respect is born in silence. You say you want peace, then stop negotiating with noise. Peace is born in silence. You say you want focus, then stop narrating your life to people who are not in the fight. Focus is born in silence. The mouth is a leak. Every time you open it without purpose, you leak strength. Every time you defend yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you leak power. Every time you argue with a fool, you join him. So you do not. You put the armor on. You zip your lips. You let your actions be the only sentence you speak before noon. Silence is not weakness. Silence is war. It is the war you wage against your ego. The ego wants to be right. The ego wants to be seen. The ego wants to be understood. The ego will trade your whole day for one reply. So you kill the ego in the morning with silence. You sit, you breathe, you listen. Not to them, to you. To the part of you that knows the truth without saying it. To the part of you that does not need a witness. To the part of you that is dangerous because it is quiet. Lions do not announce. Mountains do not argue. Gods do not explain. The world trains you to react, to overshare, to overtalk, to overexpose. Because a man who is always speaking is always vulnerable. A man who is always visible is always targetable. A man who is always available is never valuable. So you make yourself scarce. You make yourself silent. You make yourself steel. You walk into the day like a fortress. No windows, no doors, no entry. They can throw their opinions. They can throw their judgments. They can throw their chaos. It hits the armor and falls. It doesn't enter. It doesn't touch. It doesn't change your course. This is how you master your morning mindset. You do not start the day by giving it away. You start the day by guarding it. You start the day by wearing silence like a king wears a crown. Heavy, earned, unshakable. You do not owe the world your voice. You owe yourself your victory. And victory is quiet. Victory is calm. Victory is the man who could destroy them with words, but chooses not to. Because he is already free. Because he already won. Because he already knows. Let silence be your armor, now, every morning, until death. Bury the man you were yesterday. Before the sun rises, before the world speaks, before your old excuses wake up with you, bury him. You cannot master your morning mindset carrying a corpse on your back. You cannot step into power dragging the ghost of your weakness. You cannot become new while negotiating with old. So you end him, at dawn, alone, with stone, with silence, with fire. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." But you cannot be one while you keep resurrecting the boy. The boy who quit, the boy who blamed, the boy who scrolled, the boy who begged to be liked, the boy who made peace with mediocrity because war with himself was too hard. That boy must die. Not later, not tomorrow, now. You think change is adding. It is not. Change is subtracting. Change is burial. Change is looking at every version of you that failed and saying, "You do not get to live in me today." Yesterday you were lazy. Bury him. Yesterday you were soft. Bury him. Yesterday you were a slave to impulse, to opinion, to comfort. Bury him. Do not mourn him. Do not eulogize him. Do not visit his grave. Do not tell stories about how hard he had it. Hard is the entry fee. You paid it. Now leave him in the dirt where he belongs. Because if you do not bury him, he will bury you. He will whisper in your ear at 6 a.m. He will tell you one more day will not hurt. He will tell you you tried your best. He will tell you to be kind to yourself. And kindness to the corpse is cruelty to the king. The world loves your past. The world monetizes your trauma. The world celebrates your damage because damaged men are docile men. Damaged men are predictable men. Damaged men are customers. But the Stoic is not a customer. The Stoic is a funeral. Every morning he digs a grave for the part of him that would betray his future. He does not ask permission. He does not feel guilty. He does not negotiate with rot. He puts it in the ground and he walks away clean. That is discipline. That is rebirth. That is power. You say you want to change, then change the address. The old you cannot live here anymore. Evict him. Evict the stories. Evict the habits. Evict the identity. You are not your patterns. You are not your past. You are not your record. You are your decision in this second. And this second at dawn, you decide, he is dead. You do not carry his shame. You do not carry his fear. You do not carry his limits. You carry stone to his grave, and you mark it with fire so you never go back digging. Because men do not heal by remembering. Men heal by ending. Men heal by becoming. So you rise. You walk to the edge of yesterday. You look down at the man you were, the one who folded, the one who failed, the one who feared, and you let him go. No ritual, no tears, no drama, just death, just decision, just discipline. And then you turn. You face the sun. You face the climb. You face the day as a man with no history, only hunger. No baggage, only backbone. No apology, only action. Because the man who masters his morning mindset does not improve himself. He replaces himself, daily, violently, voluntarily. This is the fifth practice. This is the final law. Bury the man you were yesterday. Do it before the world meets you. Do it before your doubts meet you. Do it before your comfort meets you. Do it in darkness so you can walk in light. Do it in silence so you can roar in life. Do it alone so you are never alone again. Because once he is buried, you are free. Once he is buried, you are new. Once he is buried, you are dangerous. Master your morning mindset. Master your life. Bury the man you were yesterday. Every morning. Until death.